with a bunch of stuff that will happen to the characters. And there's, by this point, the Emmy's character is married, she's got kids, and all this kind of stuff. So things are happening to her family now that, I get to deal with. One of the things I try to do to stay current is I'll ask some of the teens at our church. I'll listen to them, I'll talk to them, and see where their minds are, things like that. And so the other day, a couple Sundays ago, I was one of the girls, she plays guitar and sings and everything. And so after church, I looked down at her feet, and she had two different shoes on. She had one gym shoe that was like all sparkly and, on all this. And then her other shoe was like a pumps or something, just a flat shoe, a black, just a dress kind of thing. And I said, what in the world's going on? And she said, well, this is one of the latest fads. This is a fashion, that wear different shoes. It's like I thought, okay, whatever, but I told her, well, it's not that new. When I was a kid, often we would have shoes that didn't quite match, because whoever carved them out of the tree didn't get them exactly right. So, but I was hoping that would go over. Okay. What was the question?
Where do you draw inspiration for your work, your writing?
Just these little guys over here, my grandkids, just our life, things that have happened to us that I fictionalize or whatever to protect the innocent or something. But,
and you said you work off of an outline, but how do you keep track of Emmy, throughout her life in 21 stories? How do you keep track of them?
There's computers. I mean, my folder for Emmy is probably, I don't know how many gigabytes it takes up, but just the characters alone, there's a folder in there that's probably 20 pages long or something that lists all the characters who appeared in the series. So otherwise, I'd never be able to. And I will have to go back and read, like when I get ready to actually put down the 21, I've got to go back and read 20 again and skip through it just to make sure, the continuity, flows is correct.
Any questions?
I have more just a comment on the Emmy series, and I've been over here trying to remember the name of the author, which is embarrassing because she spoke here in 2013 and I interviewed her. But, and it's just, but with this Emmy series, that I am determined to not read another book until I am through the series. So Ken McGee is my reading list for this year. If you've read the Mandy series, and I can't think of the author, but she wrote a character about a girl through many decades, taking her through, her senior years, and the last book was 500 pages. And I just, the name of the series, I'll have to look it up, Ken, later and send it to you. But he does. It was just an idea he had. He wanted to write it for his granddaughter. She starts at 4, and he just started writing her life. And I think when he thought maybe, this was as far as he was going to go, he just kept seeing where she was going in life. And it's really, I've read excerpts of it, and it's like literary fiction, except not stuffy or anything like that. It just follows this girl and her life, how she changes, how she grows, how she falls in love and makes decisions and comes to know God and embarks upon a singing career, writes a memoir, and it's really interesting just to see, I mean, these characters then become your friends. They become people you know. They're well drawn out. And the other thing that I think is interesting that Ken does is a lot of his main characters are girls and women. Not that he doesn't write other characters, but he has several series going that are a little different, not quite as long as Emmy, but he writes well-drawn female characters. And that can be very challenging to write characters of the opposite sex. And I think that's something that's very unique about Ken's writing.
Here's a 20.
I'll take book 3, too.
You pick them too.
So, I don't know why a lot of my main characters are women. I mean, I've never been a woman. So but somehow it's just, I don't know, happened that way. Although this book is about a guy, a guy in a Jeep, so, with a dog. So it's a guy's book.
So with all the stories that you've written, do you have a favorite character?
Yes. It's on here somewhere. Okay. Well, one of the questions on the website was, who is your favorite character in the Emmy books? And it was real easy for me to figure out. On page 63 of the third book, near the bottom of the page, there's an unnamed character. He's waiting in line at the Sainsbury's grocery store. His face is expressionless. He doesn't speak, and he stands absolutely still as he waits in line. He's in the 15-item limit line, and he knows he's got 17 cans of tuna and water. And to me, this beguiling person, it defines the essence of the Emmy series. But unfortunately, my 14th editor for that book cut him out, so he no longer exists. So it's like, he was this great character on the cutting room floor. Daily. Did you want a serious answer to that?
No, I your sense of humor come out in your stories too.
I sure hope so. Otherwise, it's like, I might as well just pack it up. But no, I mean, if you get to know me, you know I'm a very serious person. I can't even say that with a straight face. I love to laugh. I love to make people laugh. I can't get too serious about me, my writing, or anything like that, because it's meant to make people laugh, to escape maybe their humdrum life or something. I don't know.
Would you like to read a little bit?
Sure.
Read them all.
I was going to start with the first Emmy book and just work my way through. We'll be here for several years. Yeah. I actually I printed some stuff out. I hope that's okay. Can I stand and talk?
However you're comfortable.
All right. I was going to bring War and Peace and read that, but
It's another one that'll hurt your foot.
yeah, I know, it's like crazy, but this is the latest book that came out, and it is about a guy who's, they call it overlanding. He bought a Jeep, he travels around with his dog Bandit, and so this story starts in Utah. So, I don't like the color of the sky coming at his Bandit. Bandit sat on his haunches as I pointed to the menacing purple clouds 30 miles to the west. I was standing atop Peakwood Mesa looking at Barton Canyon. From my position on the craggy mesa edge, I could see the faint tan line below me that marked the switchbacks leading to the verdant landscape 1,000 feet below. I studied the clouds and marveled at the light show while I finished my second cup of coffee. The storm was far enough away. The thunder was no louder than the sound of the stone I threw hitting a boulder and bouncing away. The scorpion, which was the reason I threw the pebble, slithered under the slab of rock. It was only then I noticed the figure carved into the 3-foot-tall stone. Though crude, it resembled a bison. We aren't going to stay up here again tonight, that's for sure. I took out my binoculars, turned my St. Louis baseball cap backwards, and studied the canyon below. I'd never been in this part of Utah desert until 3 days ago. I had followed National Forest and BLM dirt roads for 5 days after leaving Coshocton Grove, where I had filled the Jeep and my spare containers with fuel and bought the last 2 loads of bread in the quaint general store. I grimaced at the price of peanut butter, but I tossed it into my basket. I was now 25 miles away, as the desert hawk flies, and no one knew I was there. I traced the dirt road down the mesa and lost it in the green valley. I swept the binoculars back and forth until I picked up the sliver of exposed dirt marking the trail. I followed it to a copse of stunted cottonwoods 2/3 of the way across the valley. There's a small clearing, and there might be water in the stream even though it's July. I don't like to stay near a riverbed if there's a chance of rain, but we are too exposed up here. Bandit ignored me as usual. Bandit stood up and I scratched his ear. I put the binoculars away and walked to where I parked my modified Wrangler Rubicon. Bandit stayed close but out of sight as I packed up camp. I shook the water jug I had used earlier and estimated it to be half full. That and the other 2 5-gallon containers would last until I could resupply. I heard a faint rumble and glanced over my shoulder. A mixture of deep maroon clouds now swirled with the purple ones I had spotted earlier, and the chainless wind shrieked through the canyon. I whistled for Bandit and charged through the scrub brush and waited until I opened the door. I let him in and made one last check with camp. I walked around the Jeep, tightened the straps on the rooftop tent, wiped the dust from the window, and vowed to find a car wash soon. "Are you ready to hit the trail?" I asked Bandit. His wagging tail thumped against the passenger seat at a heavy metal tempo. I placed my cell phone in the holder mounted on the dash and checked for a signal. No bars out here, but I didn't expect any. I had my Garmin satellite phone in case I needed it. I turned on my tablet, opened the offline maps, and tried to calculate how far I might be from the road leading out of the canyon. I've been in other areas where the maps didn't show a road, so I wasn't concerned. The trail getting to the top of the mesa might have been frequently traveled at one time, excuse me, but I doubted anyone had used it in the last year, or even longer. Scrub brush, a variety of cactus boulders, and red dust, which worked its way into every crevice of the Jeep and my clothes, dominated the parched landscape. The faint trail across the mesa top was hard-packed dirt when it wasn't paved with sharp-edged rocks waiting to shred a tire. I fired up the Jeep, threw it into 4-low, and headed to the point where the mesa opened to a small crack, barely wider than my Jeep. This would be my trail going down. I had walked part of it the day before. The primitive trail looked as though it had never been graded and was uncomfortably off-camber, which means it slanted. The shelf road most likely started out as a horse trail, or possibly a narrow cattle trail, I said to Bandit. He stuck his head out the window and ignored me. I settled in for a drive that could take as long as 3 hours, unless the trail improved closer to the canyon floor. I finally made it down to the bottom of the canyon and parked on a level spot and parked the Jeep in the nearly level area and we hopped out. I heard the faint sound of water beyond the trees. I could now see the canyon floor slope gradually to the west, and the walls rose straighter and higher. We jumped back into the Jeep as the angry purple sky opened up on us. The lightning flashed. The thunder reverberated off the hills, off the cliffs, in a never-ending cacophony of ear-shattering echoes. The heavy drops of rain splattered and mixed with the layer on the dust, turning it into a sticky red mud. 10 minutes later, the sky matched the original color of my Jeep, and the parched ground had absorbed every drop of rain. The stream gurgled over the rock-strewn path with renewed vigor, and I noticed a thin waterfall at the closed edge of the canyon, end of the canyon. I strained my eyes to see if there was a waterfall above the switchbacks, but the light and shadows prevented me spotting anything. Since the sun was beating directly down, I decided to explore the area along the creek where there was some shade. A light breeze evaporated my sweat instantly. I wrapped my red bandana around my neck and felt the residual effects of the sunburn I had received 3 days earlier. Bandit raced ahead and would occasionally double back to make sure I was still following him. I shielded my eyes from the sun and gazed at the 1,000-foot wall to my left. I spotted a ledge approximately 200 feet up and saw the ruins of a cliff dwelling. I can't talk in. When I saw an arm reached out, I yelled involuntarily, staggered back, tripped over a tree root, and landed on my butt on top of a cactus. The hand held what I thought to be a rock. The hand's owner heard my howl, gasped, and dropped the bleached white object. It smacked into the detritus 50 feet away, bounced into the sky, rolled down the slope, and ended up in 4 pieces 15 feet away. I shuddered when I realized I was looking at the pieces of a human skull. And that was how chapter 1 ended.
Well, thank you so much, Ken.
I've got more to read if we have time, or if you want.
Well, we've got the room till 8, so if
Oh.
Louise,
yeah.
the Alice series, Phyllis Reynolds Naylor, and you actually had her in the library, I think it was in 2013. And just, it's 25 books, 3 prequels, and it follows Alice through her whole life, through her 60s, and through this character you learn about her relationships, her jobs, sex, friendship, dating, and Ken does that with his Emmy character. It's really an ambitious project, and I couldn't remember what it was, but the Mandy series, but Alice, I don't know of any other series that's like that. So I just had to put that out. He didn't discuss, I think, Emmy kind of enough where I think people got a feel for it, and for people familiar with that series, it's like that.
I mean, as Emmy grows up, she gets married, she has kids. So she has 3 kids, 2 twin girls and a younger son. And so now I'm writing about these twins and how they're going through, I think in the last book, they're just starting high school. And so they're going through all this stuff. They're dating or hanging out with friends. They go through all the stuff that teen girls go through. And luckily I had my wife to talk to about some of this stuff. Since I've never been through it myself. But so it's been fun to kind of, it's almost like going back to the beginning, because Emmy grew up going through all this stuff, and now her kids are going through this stuff. And they live in an enclave of kind of pretty ritzy homes, large homes, because Emmy's husband is a rock star. Yeah, so I mean, so obviously these books are totally based on reality, because so they're a little bit well-to-do, and they live in an area of other people with some money. So that's one to write about too.
Did you want to read a little bit more?
Some Emmy? Where would, kind of like early Emmy, late Emmy, or what?
I don't know.
Early Emmy running up the little attic
Oh.
steps while Mama Colasanti is making spaghetti.
All right, I'll just, this is the,
No, it's very good.
is it what?
Mark Grant.
I wish. Okay, this is the prologue to the first Emmy book. The wooden stairs squeaked as 4-year-old Emmy Colasanti, blue eyes sparkling, scrambled up to the second floor apartment where she lived. She turned the doorknob, pushed hard on the slightly warped door, and jabbered excitedly, "Mommy, Mommy, I know who I want to marry when I get older." "Oh, and who are you planning to marry, Emmy?" Mom asked as she broke some spaghetti in pieces and dropped them in the boiling water. "I'm going to marry Tony from downstairs." Emmy pulled the purple ribbon from her hair, letting her ponytail fall free. "He kissed me, so we're going to get married." Mom smiled. "Okay, but you need to ask your father when he comes home. He might have something to say about that." She thought about the family who moved in last week. "I don't even know their names." Emmy scurried to the room she shared with her 6-year-old sister Diane, grabbed her favorite doll and hugged her. "Doll Kitty, I'm in love with Tony downstairs, but I won't forget about you. We are going to get married when I grow up." She hurried back downstairs to play with her 3-year-old friend. Dressed in his navy blue jersey with the number 52 printed on the front, Tony appeared to be twice her size in spite of being 3 months younger than Emmy. They ran outside to the small backyard and started playing with his football again. They chased each other around the brown grass and dirt. Soon his grandmother hollered, "Anthony Peter Bertucci, Aora di Mangiare, Sto Arabandi," he responded. I had to look this stuff up, because that's Italian. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right or whatever, but Grandma speaking Italian to this 3-year-old kid. Emmy turned to look at Tony's grandmother. Other than his name, she could not make out exactly what Tony's grandmother said to him. "I gotta go eat," Tony waved at Emmy as he hustled inside. A few days later, Emmy sang merrily. She skipped down the squeaky stairs to play with Tony. She reached up to feel the purple ribbon in her hair. She knocked on the door. No one answered her knock. She knocked again, just a bit harder, and waited. Still no answer. "Tony, where are you?" She knocked even harder. "We're supposed to play football today." No one came to the door. She stomped her foot and banged her small fist on the door as tears began to fill her eyes. "Tony, open the door!" But still no one came to the door. Emmy didn't understand why and cried as she trudged slowly up the stairs and into the kitchen. "What's wrong, baby?" "I can't find Tony." Tears ran down Emmy's cheeks as she held up her arms, wanting to be hugged. "We're supposed to play, but I can't find him. What if he doesn't want to marry me anymore?" Mom wiped her brow and fanned herself to fight the stifling heat, and continued to iron her husband's work shirt. Mom did not remember the significance of the day for very long. As Emmy grew older, the memory faded of the summer of 1984 and the boy she promised to marry.
Oh, that's
That's